To the video version of my journal. I'm Stephanie Rivers. Come on into the conversation. I am multicasting on several platforms, so you might be watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. On whatever platform you're watching, we want to welcome you to the conversation. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first to know. And I want to thank you to my new and growing subscribers list. I'm playing a little hip hop background. What is it called? It's called chill hop. So not all the way hip hop, but in homage to the 50th anniversary of the music genre hip hop. So if you're a hip hop fan, thank you as well for being here. So if you are new, again, be sure to like, share, subscribe so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first to know. Now, if it's one thing you can count on from Black people is that we know how to laugh in the midst of a bad situation. So if you give us a cloud, we will look for the silver lining in that cloud. We'll look for God's face in that cloud. If you give us rain, we look for rainbows. If you give us lemons, we make lemonade. Shout out to Beyonce and her Lemonade CD. If you close a door on us, we look for the open door. So for our own mental health, that's probably a good thing. But sometimes you have to, because you have to laugh to keep from crying, sometimes we end up just doing those types of coping mechanisms. But on the other hand, we don't really work to change the injustices. And because we're so busy reacting in those predictable ways, it does nothing to force change when change should happen. Now, after that video of the Montgomery Brawl was released and the different angles and what have you, Black people wasted no time putting their creativity to work with all the versions of the videos and the different memes and the commemorative t-shirts and the terrible towels and the collector items in support of the men and women who jumped in when those white people jumped on the Black co-captain of the Harriet riverboat, okay? Just because he was doing his job. But here's the thing, when they woke up that morning, I'm sure the aggressors could not have predicted what was in store for them later that day. They didn't like that they were being corrected, and that's what jumped it off. A lot of people said it has something to do with alcohol. Okay, maybe if they weren't drinking, they would have, what is the term? More level heads would have prevailed had they not been drinking. But they didn't like that they were being corrected. And after asking them several times to move their pontoon, and even if you didn't know in the beginning of the issue that you were in the way of the riverboats parking, after you were asked several times and you didn't, and you realize, okay, we're in the wrong parking spot, then why not just go ahead and move? So they were asked several times, and after several times of them not responding, they thought that they were just going to, the co-captain had to get out of his, element and go over there and try to correct the situation. And they should have moved and they didn't. And that's why that made him have to go over there and try to push their pontoon out of the way. So they thought they were going to just whip up on the co-captain and go on about their white privilege business. But they got introduced to the term, don't start none, won't be none. they got introduced to the term "they gon' learn today." Shout out to Kevin Hart, and shout out to what is it, Video Music Box out of New York for coming up with the term shout out in commemoration of the 50th anniversary of hip hop. And somebody's calling me just as I'm trying to do this. Hold on. Hello? Correct. No problem. Bye. Okay. Sorry about that. So they got introduced to the term "don't start none, won't be none." And that is what is happening. Now, who are these people that we're talking about? I'm going to put their pictures up here in case we know you saw them in action, but here they are. Here are their pictures. And they are, I'm going to tell you their names. They are Zachary Shipman on the far left, 25-year-old Zachary Shipman. There's Richard Roberts, 48 years old. There's Alan Todd, 23 years old. And there's Mary Todd, 21 years old. They are facing assault charges in the brawl, in the Maryland, the Montgomery, Baltimore brawl. So I know some of you have relatives in the Alabama area, and or you might have been to Montgomery, Alabama, because that is where the Equal Justice Initiative lynching museum is. If you haven't been there for that in particular, I had a chance to go to the, we call it in our community, the lynching museum. It's where every lynching on record between 1900 and 1950, I think it is the name of the person is etched in a piece of iron in the outside portion of this museum, just to show how many lives were lost senselessly in the South and across the United States during that time, during that time of civil unrest. And so if you haven't already, and they've got a lot of other artifacts about that. And then they also, Alabama is a place where the movie Just Mercy, it was focused on the movement to, what is it called? The Innocence Project, and their effort to get Black men mostly, but people in general who have been wrongly convicted of crimes, to get them exonerated and freed. So if you haven't been to Montgomery, Alabama, that would be probably a reason that you would go. And that's why I went. These are the 4 people who effed around last weekend and found out about jumping on people for no reason. They thought they were going to gang up on him, and they found out. So that's who those people are. Now, the Reggie Ray is the lone Black man who is charged with disorderly conduct. He's the person seen on the many videos hitting people over the head with the folding chair. And he turned himself into Montgomery Police Department last Friday, a couple of days ago, and he's being represented by civil rights attorney Lee Merritt. Merritt also set up a GoFundMe account for Reggie Ray. Now, again, Reggie Ray is charged with disorderly conduct. So I don't know that he would need all the money in this GoFundMe account, but there is quite a bit of money. And let's go look at this GoFundMe account so you can see how much money is in there. They've raised over $253,000 in this GoFundMe account. And the goal the other day when they opened it, it started out being $10,000. And now they've raised the goal. They raised that $10,000 within Oh, within 24 hours. And so now about 48, 72 hours later, I see they have raised the goal to $275,000. And again, you never know what's going to happen when you go into a court of law. So they have charged Reggie Ray with disorderly conduct, which doesn't seem like they would do too much of keeping you behind bars. No, it seems like he would be released on his own recognizance with that type of a misdemeanor offense. But who knows what's going on at this point. And so again, I don't think he'll need the whole $253,000. But the fact that Black people have come together, and whoever else felt like Reggie and the other possible defendants, although nobody's been charged. And when I say defendants using this money, it would be for the Black people who might be charged. I don't know that they would need all this money, but the fact that we have come together and raised money for someone that was coming to the defense of a Black man just trying to do his job, I think is admirable. And the question becomes, should you send money to the Montgomery Brawl Criminal Defense Fund? If you think you should, if you think people shouldn't, send me something in the chat. And somebody already has said something. Kurt Chill says, "Hey, kings and queens." Hey, Kurt Chill, do you think that that we should be sending money to help their defense? Why or why not? And if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first to know. Now, as I said, it started out with a $10,000 goal, and they've already raised it to $275,000. So we'll see what happens from there. Now, I don't think that, again, they will need all that money, but at least it'll be, and Lee Merritt, the attorney, is in charge of this GoFundMe. He started it, which means he's like the administrator of it. And so I feel comfortable giving money to a fund that Lee Merritt would be administering. I feel comfortable. So I will be giving money, and it said only 9,000 people have contributed. So that means people are giving up a good amount of money. This shows that in the past few days, somebody gave, L.A. Jenkins gave $107. Nathaniel Clark said Black Power, he gave $25. Enolia gave $50. Rita Rowland gave 50. Ron W. gave 5. Sharnice gave 25. Danetta gave 10. It doesn't take a lot of money. Iverson Jarrell gave $100. He says support arrives on the scene of defense in various ways. It shows up as offensive tactics toward a showcase of ignorance. So, just shout out to these people who are putting their money where their mouth is. We said we would support them, and we cheered them on as they were doing their thing. So, it seems only right that if they're going to be charged with something, that we could come together as a community and support them getting the adequate defense, the same as people came together for Kyle Rittenhouse. People came together for the guy who shot and killed Trayvon Martin. People who came together for the McMichaels in Georgia. They come together for some of the shadiest of people, and they raise millions of dollars. Okay, so if we want to put our money towards the Montgomery Brawlers, then that's what we can do, and have no shame in our game on that. So here's also something that I came across. When I try to and again, if you want to give money to the fund, then you can do that. Just go on GoFundMe. Let's go back up to the top. Go to GoFundMe and look for Community Response Recovery Fund. And then you too can, let me go ahead and put that in the chat. And so just in case you want to do that, this is going to be the link to support Montgomery Brawlers. Now, just in case you're wondering why it's important for us to support each other, even though, you might be saying to yourself, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have been fighting, and I don't condone violence. Of course, we don't condone violence. But like we said earlier, don't start none and won't be none. So that's important for you to defend yourself and defend your family and defend your people. If you see somebody in distress, that's your right. That's your instinct, is to support those people. And so there was a interview of Malcolm X a couple of when he was alive, of course. And one of the things that they asked him, and that I think is very important, and I'm going to try to pull it up and play it. So let me pull that up so you can see what Malcolm X said about us supporting each other.
When black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, then the black man will think like a black man, and he will feel for other black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause black people to stick together. And then at that point, you'll have a situation where when you attack one black man, you are attacking all black men. And this type of black thinking will cause all black people to stick together. And this type of thinking also will bring an end to the brutality inflicted upon black people by white people. And it is the only thing that will bring an end to it. No federal court, state court, or city court will bring an end to it. It's something that the black man has to bring an end to himself.
Minister.
And that in itself is a powerful statement, because at sometimes we feel like, well, what they're going through is not what I'm going through. And we end up not really caring about the circumstances of other people who look like us, when, as Malcolm X just said, that's the only thing that's going to make a difference, is when they people who want to not see us. And there's another issue that I was going to talk about today, and I'm going to talk about it later. And it's just without going into all of that, essentially, when they see that we are willing to save ourselves, and not, when they say, I just want to save myself, I don't care about what's going on with this black person over here, then they know they can divide us and conquer us. But when they see that we're willing to stick together, then that's when the change will come, or at least they will start to realize they have to change their methods, because we're not going to allow them to just do to a couple of us or some of us, that all of us are going to jump in when we see an injustice being done. And that is what happened at the Montgomery Brawl last weekend. And so that's important for us to realize. Sometimes it just takes the action of a few of us to make a difference. And we can't be deterred by, oh, well, they got this on video, or, oh, I'm going to get charged, or any of that, because sometimes that's what it might take for you to make a difference, and for them to realize that a difference is on the way, that a change is coming, because we don't care about the consequences that society says is something that should hold us back from doing what we need to do. So I am currently in Pensacola, Florida, at a beachside hotel. And whenever I go to new cities, when I decide to eat outside of the hotel, I do a search for, are there any Black restaurants in the area, because I try to support Black businesses, because I'm a Black business owner and I want people to support me, not just because I'm a Black business owner, but because I'm a person in business and I have a great service, and I'm trying to grow and make a difference in my community. And besides that, if you see that me being a Black business owner is something that you support and celebrate, then do that by patronizing my business. And I try to do that. I'm trying to be reciprocal to other people. And that's what I do. So I was looking for this Black owned restaurants in the Pensacola, Florida area. And so I happened up on this place called Five Sisters Blues Cafe. And I went there for brunch, and the food was great. And they had a band playing, jazz band playing, and the music was good. The ambiance was great. And if I'm ever in Pensacola again, I will stop there again. What I realized, though, is the clientele. There were more white people as patronizing the place as there were Black people paying to sit and eat. And you know what? As a business owner, like I said, that is what you want. You want people to appreciate your good customer service, your the prices, the great food, the ambiance. You want people of all colors and classes and backgrounds to appreciate what you're serving and offering, and to come in and be willing to pay for that. But what I've realized is that white people they're conditioned to accept certain things from us. And one of those things is they expect us to entertain them. Another thing is they expect us to have good food and to serve them. So if we are doing something to make white people feel comfortable, then they're okay with that. But if you're doing anything that is outside of what they expect of you, some of them are not okay with that. And therein lies the issue, going back to the Montgomery Brawl. The white people on that pontoon, they felt privileged to just park anywhere that they wanted to, needed to, had to. And even when they were asked over and over repeatedly to move the pontoon, they didn't feel like it was like the person telling them to move should have authority to tell them to move. That's why they didn't move. So maybe okay if they weren't drinking, but even if they weren't drinking, they still in their minds felt like I can park my pontoon any damn where I want to park it, and you can't tell me to move. And even if you tell me to move, I don't have to move. And then when you come to move it, you better not put your hands on my stuff. Even though there's like 50 to 100 people in a riverboat trying to ask you to move so they can park in the spot that is designated for them to park, they still feel privileged, like they don't have to they feel privileged, like they can they can inconvenience you and everybody on the boat because they are privileged enough that they don't have to move when you tell them to. And if you do present yourself as an authority figure, then they get so unsettled by that they will attack you. And that's what they did. They attacked Damian Pickett. He asserted himself as the co-captain of the Harriet riverboat. And because he was doing his job, they attacked him. And therein lies the issue. So when I went to that restaurant today, it surprised me a little, but it overall, when I got to thinking about it, it didn't really surprise me at all that there were more white people in there than black people, because black people know black people can cook, and we know we know how to run a restaurant, and we know the food is good and the ambiance is going to be top shelf. We know all that. But white people expect it because that's what they feel comfortable with coming from us: entertainment and good food, and some type of servitude type role. And so those white people in Birmingham couldn't stand that the black man was telling them that they were wrong. And there were some underlying political issues as well going on in Birmingham. And again, if you Birmingham, in Montgomery, and essentially the current mayor, Stephen Reed, has been mayor since 2019, but he must have been a new mayor, or he was like a mayor that they didn't expect him to win. They thought that his white opponent was going to win. And when he won, ever since then, they have been trying to come up with a way to oust him from his position. And now that his reelection is coming up, now they're trying to figure out a way. They're trying to find, excuse me, they're trying to find somebody to run against him. And all these political PACs and everything are coming in and giving money to the opponent. And then I'm going to put another link in the chat so you can follow. This is just an opinion piece that talks about the issues that are going on in Birmingham right now. So I'm going to say, to find out about political unrest in Montgomery, check out this link. All right, I gotta go back and put the link in. And if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first to know. All righty. So I put the link in there. So there's always an underlying issue, but and it could be different reasons as to why people do things. But when it comes to race relations, most of the time that people are used to seeing you, and that's with anybody, but especially with when it comes to race relations, people are used to seeing you operate in a certain space, and when you get outside of that space, then they have a problem with that. And we just need to realize that. So when you start to improve yourself, and when you start to go out of your comfort zone to do bigger and better things, just know that you're out of your comfort zone, as well as some of the white people who are used to seeing you in a certain zone. You're out of your comfort zone in their eyes, and they will have different reactions to that, And so just that doesn't mean you have to stop what you're doing. That just means you have to push through and be aware of the situations. And like my mother always says, keep your head on a swivel, because people will lash out or do certain things to deter you from doing what you know you're supposed to be doing and pushing through. God didn't give you a vision to do great things without giving you the plan to make it come to fruition. And that's what I want you to remember about all this. And again, that's why we need to make sure that we are supporting people, our brothers and sisters who are going through things, because especially if they're going through it on our behalf as a collective, we need to get back to being a collective, because that's the only way that we are going to succeed, is as a collective. And that's what my messages for you today. And if you haven't already, go ahead and follow me on Twitter and IG and Threads, and hit me up in the chat. Some of you are good about emailing me later on after the fact, and I appreciate that. And I show you my appreciation by emailing you back and having conversations with you about the topic at hand. So to find out more about the things that I care about, you can go to the written version of my journal. That's at eurweb.com. Thank you so much, and have a super